It's one of the most dramatic stories you've ever heard. A tale of faith, of trumpets, and a truly impossible victory that has echoed for thousands of years. But what if the story we all know about the fall of Jericho is only the beginning of a much deeper and, honestly, a more astonishing truth? Let's dig in. You've probably heard this line before, right? It's from the book of Joshua, and it captures this absolutely epic moment. It's the story of the miraculous conquest of the city of Jericho, which was supposed to be completely unconquerable. This was the first major battle for the Israelites in their quest for the Promised Land. The story is just so vivid. Picture this. For 6 straight days, the Israelite army just circles the city in total silence. Can you imagine the psychological effect? Then on the 7th day, they march around it 7 times. The priests blast their horns, the people let out this incredible, deafening roar, and the mighty walls of Jericho just crumble into dust. It's a powerful, foundational story of divine power. For centuries, that was the story, a powerful legend. But in the modern era, a new kind of witness showed up on the scene: archaeology. And that's where our real quest begins, asking one simple but profound question. What do the stones of Jericho actually tell us? So the search for the biblical Jericho led archaeologists to this massive mound in the Jordan Valley called Tel es-Sultan. Now, a tell is basically an artificial hill built up over thousands and thousands of years as new cities were built right on top of the ruins of old ones. It's like a layered cake of history, and archaeologists were determined to find the slice that belonged to Joshua. At first, the early excavators back in the early 1900s, they were absolutely thrilled. They found these collapsed walls, signs of a huge fire, and to them, it seemed like slam-dunk confirmation of the biblical story. It really looked like they had found the very walls that Joshua brought down. But then came Kathleen Kenyon. In the 1950s, she arrived at Jericho with brand new, much more rigorous scientific techniques. She wasn't just digging for cool artifacts. She was carefully analyzing the layers of soil, a method called stratigraphy, to build a super precise timeline of the city's history. And what she found? Well, it was about to turn the whole story on its head. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Kenyon's meticulous work uncovered a major problem, a puzzle that just didn't fit. The problem wasn't about if the walls fell, it was about when they fell. Kenyon's dating was conclusive. The great defensive walls that those earlier archaeologists had found, they had definitely been destroyed, but it happened around 1550 BCE. The thing is, according to most biblical timelines, Joshua's conquest happened centuries later, somewhere between 1400 and 1200 BCE. And by that time, Jericho wasn't a mighty city at all. It was a small, kind of poor settlement with no big walls to speak of. So you see this stark contrast. The Bible describes this powerful, walled metropolis, but the archaeology from that specific time period, it shows a completely different reality. The legend and the physical evidence just didn't line up at all. This was the bombshell, the most famous walls in history, the absolute centerpiece of the entire story. They likely didn't even exist when the battle was supposed to have happened. The city Joshua would have encountered was really just a shadow of its former glory. This just raises a fascinating question, doesn't it? If archaeology suggests the story of the walls isn't literally true, does that mean Jericho is unimportant? Well, far from it. In fact, what archaeology revealed was that Jericho's true story is even more incredible than the myth. As Kenyon and the others dug deeper, past the Bronze Age ruins, they went back in time. And I mean way back. They found that the story of Jericho wasn't about one moment of destruction, but about it being one of the most ancient and pioneering cities on the entire planet. 10,000 BCE. Just let that number sink in for a second. Archaeologists found evidence that people were living at Jericho all the way back then, right after the end of the last ice age. That makes it one of the oldest, continuously inhabited places in the world. And these are the real marvels of ancient Jericho. This was one of humanity's very first experiments with city living. Around 10,000 years ago, they built a massive stone tower. That's an incredible feat of engineering for its time. They were some of the first farmers. They built some of the world's first city walls. And they had these complex rituals, like plastering human skulls to preserve the faces of their ancestors. This wasn't just a city. It was literally a cradle of civilization. So how do we make sense of these two powerful stories? We have the legendary tale of faith on one hand, and the archaeological epic of human innovation on the other. Do we have to pick a side? Well, maybe the best way to look at it is to realize we're dealing with two different kinds of truth. You've got archaeological truth, which is all about the physical facts, what you can dig up, what you can date. Then you have cultural truth, which is about meaning, the stories a culture tells itself to understand its place in the world, its identity. One really compelling theory is that the story of Joshua is what's called an etiological tale. So imagine you're a later Israelite and you come across these massive, ancient, mysterious ruins of a city whose walls had clearly fallen a long, long time ago. You'd ask yourself, who built this? What on earth happened here? The story of Joshua could have been their powerful, faith-filled answer to explain the incredible ruins they saw right in front of them. And so, the two narratives can actually coexist. One is a timeless story about the power of faith and fulfilling a promise. The other is a profound story about the very dawn of human civilization itself, a real testament to our species' drive to build and innovate and create community. But wait, the story doesn't just end in the ancient past. In our own time, Jericho's incredible historical significance has received its greatest modern recognition, adding a final, amazing chapter to its long, long history. After millennia of history and over a century of painstaking archaeological work, the world has finally, formally taken notice of Jericho's unique place in the entire human story. In 2023, UNESCO officially designated ancient Jericho as a World Heritage Site. Now, this isn't just about preserving old stones. It's a global acknowledgement that the story of this city, its incredible innovations in farming and building, is part of the shared heritage of all of us. So we come back to that central question. When you look past the myth of the falling walls and you see the full, sweeping story of its history, what is Jericho's real, enduring legacy? It's not a story about a single dramatic moment of destruction. It's the opposite. It's a 12,000-year epic of human resilience, of innovation, and of that relentless desire to build a permanent home. Jericho teaches us that sometimes the most powerful stories aren't about how things fall, but how they begin.
History isn't dust, it's a journey through time. Here on History LM, we tell it simply and fast. If you love discovering the past in just a few minutes, hit like and follow History LM. Your next journey through time is waiting.